Touhou 6 Embodiment of Scarlet Devil. You may like it, you may dislike it, but you certainly can negate the cultural impact that it had not only on Touhou, but on the internet as a whole. It's the game that made Touhou popular after all, so it's no wonder it'll be the most adept in fanworks and fangames. Eosd has been put under a myriad of forms and game genres, ranging from simple Damakuri imagines of the game, to strategy games, Metroidvanias, visual novels, and a top-down shooter? Welcome to Touhou Blooming Chaos. Now, I know this may look like a Chinese spyware, but I can assure you it's not a Chinese spyware. The Mr. Kazaya devs made this, so if this turns out to be a Chinese spyware, let's hope for the majority of the fandom that their other games are not. The game that answers the question of what it would be like to play Eosd as a so-called twin-stick shooter. Not that I'm personally that desperate to play Eosd as a twin-stick shooter, but it's still worth a try, I guess, since I eat up and consume everything Touhou related, no matter how shit it may be. A very curious game, especially when it's coming from none other than such a beloved dev team as the Mr. Ikazaya one. In fact, this is the first game that they ever released on Steam all the way back in 2019, and for a first Fangame release that didn't sell very well compared to their other games, it's certainly something. But it still stands out on its own due to a very peculiar selling point of the game that may pique someone's interest. Well, we all know that first games can be awkward, and an ESD adaptation is nothing out of the ordinary, so why reviewing this game in particular? What makes it unique? Oh, you will see, my friends, so buckle up as we go down a path of scrap the Touhou characters being playable, white lines flickering on the screen, and questionable defeated battle sprites among all of this blooming chaos. We're making fucking one-liners now. As always, we'll start with the game's story. The first thing that you will immediately notice is that the game dialogue is only in Chinese. No English translation was ever released for this game, despite the game's developers saying that one was coming in Steam discussions. But oh well, the UI is still in English, so it's still completely playable even to someone who doesn't know Chinese like me. And I will use my amazing Touhou fan literacy skills to explain this game plot with all the visual storytelling that I gather and carefully interpret like a detective, even better than what Satori does. The story is, well, the story is USD, Red Scarlet Mist and all, but this time, everyone is body swapped. So you have like Dayusei in the body of Fenre, Mailing in the body of Kuakuma, Chirno in the body of Rumilia, Pachi in the body of Rumia, who still suffer from asthma for some reason, and so on and so forth. So you play as the red and white shrine maiden that everyone knows and loves, as she goes along the usual 60 USD stages, repurposed in top-down shooter form to find the culprit behind the Scarlet Mist so she can go back to sleeping peacefully. Surprisingly, at the end of stage 6, it's revealed that Remy is not actually the one responsible for the incident, but it's actually Pachi who is truly responsible for the body swap and Scarlet Mist, and has taken control of Rumia's body, so you beat the shit out of the asthma patient, and everything goes back to normal. Status quo achieved once again, because nothing ever happens in Gensokyo. Reimu is obviously not the only playable character. When you finish the game for the first time, after you defeat the stage 1 boss, which is Flenre or Dayusei, depends on how you want to call them, depending if you go by appearance or soul inside the body. If you go back on your tracks, a door at the bottom of the level opens up, where you'll find Marisa out there just standing there and goes all like, "Yo Reimu, let's go kill people." So you can now play as Reimu and Marisa. No, you can't play as only Marisa. You have to play them as a duo, and you can swap through them as they act as two independent playable characters with their own health bars and stats, which makes me theorize that the devs of this game are actually Rei-Mari shippers and had to push the agenda in some way or shape. But there is also a third playable character, the one that makes this game stand out among a lot of other fangames. Always when you complete the game for the first time, you also unlock the Another Story mode, which makes it able to play as... Wait, what the fuck is this? Meet Rin Satsuki. If you don't know who she is, she's basically a rare instance of a scrapped character in Touhou. She was simply supposed to be the third playable character of Eosd that never happened, with the only proof that the ever existence being a line of code in Eosd that I have no idea how to read, and the only other official information that we have on her is that she was supposed to have wind powers, and fans tended to associate her appearance with this girl on an old Touhou poster that Zun drew, but they never explained who the character on the poster was. She was added in the game as a final update for reaching 5k copies sold, and it's definitely the most unique thing about this game. Rin, for how much of a Touhou myth like meme as she may be, is generally not that much seen in Fangames, so it's pretty cool to finally see a playable what if of the scenario that the series might have had a trio of main protagonists if she ever ended up making the cut for USD. Each character has 3 different endings for their scenario. The first one is simply obtained by clearing the game normally, beat stage 6 and you're done. The second one is unlocked by gathering 3 color keys spread throughout the levels. They unlocked an extra stage after defeating Rumia in stage 6, when you enter down the basement of the SDM as Patchy is taking over control of Flandre's body because she's a witch and she's evil. Woo! Even if canon Patchy is nowhere near close to being evil in generals. There are only like 3 motherfuckers in the whole series while playing out evil, and Patchy is not one of them. While for the last and third ending, you just have to time out the last spell card in the final fight in the extra stage, as you unlock an alternate ending where in classic Touhou humor that has not evolved in 15 years, the Scarlet Devil Mansion explodes and that's it. No, like, literally, there isn't that much different between all 3 endings for all 3 characters, but it's not like this game's story, USD in general is the epitome of human writing. Shakespeare did not write USD, and that's completely fine. The story twist is interesting enough, and the method for unlocking the 2 alternate endings is kinda creative at least. The game is really short. A run will only take you around 40 minutes on average, and once you see all 9 endings, you're basically already done with 80% of what the game has to offer. So for a full price of 5 buckaroons and 80 cents, I highly recommend picking up this game on discount if you are willing to give it a shot someday due to how short it is. For the gameplay itself, we will start with the basics. You move, you shoot, you bomb, you focus, and you gather power points that enemies drop in standard Touhou fashion. But this time around, enemies also drop EXP points and health points. Health points are pretty basic and self-explanatory. You have a health bar in this game and defeating enemies and clearing spell cards heals you, while the XP points allowed you to level up and increase your character level up to a maximum of 400 in a run, as each level gives you 1 more maximum health. I still have trouble understanding what the hell is the point of the level system. It's not like you really need more health anyway, since enemies drop so many health points when they die that it's really hard to go under 20% of your HP unless you really want it. And in a normal run, you will only get around level 60 at best if you are entering every room and killing every enemy. So are you supposed to get the achievement for reaching level 400? Well, by going AFK for 4 hours straight near a fairy stuck in a door, since grazing also gives you XP, and good luck doing that. I seriously couldn't be bothered with it in the slightest, and I just decided to use Steam Achievement Manager to unlock it. Call me a lazy ass all you want, but let's be honest, who the fuck actually finds AFK farming achievement fun to do in games? The stage design itself is kinda okay-ish. You can see the map tileset on top of the screen, and later levels actually require you to explore a bit and take the side path that you need to take to beat the side boss that opens the door to the real boss. But the main drawback that I have with the stage design is there are way too many side paths that lead to nowhere. Only around 60% of the map needs to really be explored to beat the stage truly, and taking these side paths only leads you maybe to a room with a bunch of enemies and donation boxes, which are scattered throughout the levels and that drop healing items that you can spam the shit out of during combat. Oh, and also there is this really silly hidden Steam achievement where you have to take this rock in stage 1 and slowly push it to the end of the stage. Fantastic use of 10 minutes of your time. Don't worry, Rin, you'll eventually get there. When you actually decide to replay the game a second time, it's basically almost useless to go outside of the main path. It's not like you are ever gonna need the healing items that much anyway, and that introduces the very first big balancing problem of the game, the invincibility time. The invincibility time is honestly insane. It's so fucking long that by the time that you are hit and your iframes end, the enemy will be dead anyway. You will get back all of your health due to how much HP points common enemies drop in general. In boss fights specifically, this problem is present a lot. The most effective strat is to ironically not dodge at all 80% of the time and just face tank all the hits from a spell card, since you get fully healed when you clear it anyway, and there is basically no penalty for this. It works every single fucking time and makes the entirety of this game a joke in difficulty, even more so with the healing items since you can spend them like crazy with no cooldowns, making you a god among these mortal fairies who pitifully fail at harming you in any shape or form. The characters themselves are another huge nail in the coffin to the balancing and difficulty. Reimu is the classic, homing projectiles and all, and in standard Eosd fashion, she does absolutely no damage at all, while Marisa on the other end. Oh, Marisa takes this game balance, snaps it in half, jumps 4 games forward, and goes kissing Nitori all at the same time. For Touhou review etiquette reasons, I'll specify that this game owes no Nitomari content. Marisa is an absolute beast. She's fast as a rocket, has absolutely insane damage that shreds most enemies and bosses, sometimes before they can even start shooting, and brings the difficulty of this game in the negative numbers. And lower health is basically irrelevant since dying this game is an activity only aimed for little babies, and we as Touhou players are strong men and women. In fact, why don't you just ignore every single enemy in the stage and just zoom through the rooms? It's that easy. While for Rin, our dear poster girl of this game, well, Rin is sadly pretty bad. She's low as shit, just does a slightly tiny bit more damage than Reimu, and for her low range and higher health put, I guess she's supposed to be kind of a melee character. At least she can delete bullets around her when she focuses with her flower orbs. She's just so slow that she turns this game from a 40 minutes game into a 60 minutes one, so you're really only playing as her for the swag and aura. Apart from the standard story mode, the game also has this challenge mode which has a difficulty selection this time around. It's basically a score attack version of the game, where this time around you play as all 3 characters together, being able to swap through them, like when you play as Reimu and Marisa. You have to collect as much points as possible from defeating enemies and capturing spell cards before the time runs out, and keeping your multiplier high by not getting it from bullets. It's actually overall a better version of the game flow compared to story mode. There is no mindless useless Chinese dialogue, the healing items are removed, which is, well, slightly better for the game balance, but it just ends up being a Marisa only run if you really want to get it over with. There is also this thing when you play as Reimu and Marisa in challenge mode, that if somehow one of your characters dies, they are straight up gone for the entirety of the run. Like, why? This is just a plain out annoying mechanic. Like, I don't see anyone seeing this and going all like, oh wow, now I have to play stage 6 as the character I never bothered to level up and use for the rest of the run. Oh, immersive, I love Eosd. The Namaku itself is fine. Common enemies shoot out the lasers and bullets that you would expect from a standard top-down shooter, even if whoever thought that making enemies would shoot out bullets at you only when you hit them should never be able to cook again. The spell cards themselves are serviceable, I guess, nothing too crazy nor creative that will make the fight itself memorable, and they just feel like a random series of attacks for most of them, as if the original Eosd didn't have enough RNG spell card bullshit there to make it an absolute torture to play. The real issue arises from the fact that this game only has a total of 22 spell cards spread across 10 bosses. Bosses will have an average of 2 spell cards per fight, with Sakuya in stage 5 only really having 1 spell card and the fight is over, and that makes boss fight last less than a minute on average and just a small nuisance interruption in the game flow. But I feel like that before closing off the gameplay section, we have to talk about the nail in the coffin for this game, and that is the fact that this game is a graphical buggy mess. Let's get the big one out of the way. This game is an absolutely horrendous graphic display issue. When traveling through stages and room, you constantly see these white lines flickering on the screen, and once you notice them, it's so over. You will notice them all the time. And the weirdest thing about this graphical issue is that it only really triggers in the later stages. Stage 1 is completely absent for this, while stage 6 is a white lines flickering fuckfest. During boss fights, this issue doesn't trigger me seriously, which makes me think that there is an actual issue with tilesets themselves when they are loaded in as you move room to room. I tried to tweak around with the display settings to see if this issue could be resolved, but both the window and the full screen, the later stages still had this, so I really don't know if it's an issue with my computer since I couldn't find any Steam discussions regarding this issue. So I don't know if it's just a Suwawako not knowing he can disable sticky keys while playing Valor Detector moment, or a common issue on all PCs. As for the overall art direction, I'll start with the positives. The pixel art and sprite animation is really good. You can tell a lot of effort went into this department. The playable characters look real smooth when they walk in all 8 directions, and even the common enemies and bosses are drawn and animated quite nice and smoothly. The stages themselves look actually quite good. Stage 5 in particular has a really well made tileset that plays well with the wall bridges thing present on the level and the shadow lighting it. If only they didn't get ruined by the flickering issue so I could actually enjoy how these stages look even more. But as for the character portraits, yeah, I don't like them. They managed to do dirty even Saguya and Mei Ling somehow, since everyone visually shares the same body type here. Not that Zun himself is a master at drawing body types, but at least you can tell from his art when someone is a fat fuck or when someone is a little girl. And seeing Reimu and Marisa share the same body type as Rumia is just so fucking cursed, man. It doesn't even look like a chibi art style and all. It just looks like that they got the fairies and Rumia right and took that as the standard to make everybody else. There is this thing after you defeat a boss that shows their defeated battle sprites with their clothes turns up, which most of the time is perfectly normal and sometimes it's like this, which makes me think that either the age rating for this game was supposed to be very different, or the devs just did not realize what kind of game they were making when coordinating some artworks and gameplay. This thing is also brought to a mass production scale in the sequel. Yes, there is an actual sequel to this game.
Big mommy milkers.
At last, we had to talk about the music, and I'll give a huge free face on this one. The original Eosd soundtrack is something I am kinda mixed up on. Eosd owes both my most and least favorite host in the entire series, and I overall think that the instrument choice Zunt went for was pretty weird for most songs, the most of which are glazed as hell even today. So how do they translate with the game remixes? Well, pretty bad. Some of them like real bad. The stages themselves are fine, they are enjoyable and go for a medieval sounding approach, which is cool, but the boss teams, yeah, they absolutely fucking butchered the diss tracks. Some of them, like Shirano's team, start off pretty good but then end up being boring and way too calm for a boss fight like all the others. It doesn't feel like I'm fighting someone at all. There is no sensation of your line being at stake in any of these tracks. It just sounds like you enter your local Starbucks and this is the music that is playing in background speakers. If you ironically told me that Pachi's fight team in this game was the stage 4 background team, I could actually believe ya. Pachi's original theme in Eosd was so good, full of mystery and action, fitting for the fight and atmosphere, giving it an undeniable charm that only an Asma-ridden magician could give, and seeing it watered down to something as boring as this, you're breaking my ma's heart. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I'm against and actively dislike calm and battle teams, but there is a theme and atmosphere for everything, and I don't think a random showdown with Rumia in Patchy's body and Misty Lake is justified for the calmer and honestly sleep-inducing approach. But hey, if you prefer more these calmer renditions, who am I to judge? More power to ya. Overall, Touhou Blooming Chaos is a rough game. Not exactly a plain not bad one per se. You can tell that it was probably a dev team first attempt at making something, and that's completely fine. No one makes a perfect game at the first try. It took Zun 13 games before making what I consider to be his magnum opus. Even if this game reeks of abandoned Touhou with all of its issues that never got fixed or the English translation that never arrived, it's perfectly understandable why the devs would want to move on. The game didn't sell out that well, so it makes sense why they would find more convenient in both time and money to move on to future projects. I don't think anyone out there was that desperate to see this game thrive after all. I actually really respect the devs for sticking to game deving despite the low success of this game, and delivering such beloved games as Mitsuya Izakaya, showcasing that they can learn from their mistakes and make gigantic leaps forward, especially for the sequel of Blooming Chaos, which fixes a lot of the issues that the first game had, like the replayability aspect by making it a roguelike, but maybe, I say maybe, we'll talk about the game some other day. I still would recommend playing this game. As always, you should try a game before giving your personal opinion on it, not copy my or any other Touhou opinion, which don't really matter in grand scheme of things, no matter if I glaze or shit on a game. I do these videos mainly so I can both inform, but most importantly discuss with people down in the comments about the game I review and talk about while having a lot of fun making the videos themselves. So, if you are willing to give Touhou Blooming Chaos a shot, try to have as much fun as you can playing imaginary Touhou what ifs with Rin, and like as ever, stay safe everyone, and thanks for watching!